Close your eyes and picture Earth from far above, a blue candle floating in a velvet room. The continents look like quiet brushstrokes. The oceans breathe in slow waves. City lights sparkle like campfires under a glass dome of night. Our planet is steady, patient, perfectly ordinary, and utterly miraculous. Tonight, let the calm facts of Earth carry you towards sleep. Here is the first one. Earth moves fast, but it feels gentle. As we sit here, the ground under us is turning at hundreds of miles per hour, yet the motion is so smooth we do not feel a bump. We are also circling the Sunday. It is balance that keeps us calm. Gravity holds us, and the air cushions us, so motion becomes a lullaby. Fact 2. Day and night are Earth's simplest rhythm. A 24-hour day exists because our planet spins once, and that spin has slowed to a comfortable pace. The moon's steady tug on the oceans acted like a brake, stretching the day into the length we live by now. That slow, reliable turn is why your body knows when to yawn, when to wake, and when to dream. Fact 3. The seasons are not a trick of the Sunday, they are a gift from Earth's quiet lean. Our planet tilts like a resting head, just enough to let sunlight slide across the hemispheres. This gentle angle is why winters are calm and summers warm, why crops can grow in cycles, why animals migrate and return. With it, the year breathes. Fact 4. The air above you is thin and kind. It warms us, filters sunlight, carries scents, and returns rain. It moves heat from where there is too much to where there is not enough. Fact 5. Most of the oxygen you breathe today was made by tiny ocean drifters. They are called phytoplankton, and they are small enough to ride the wrinkles of a wave. They turn sunlight into sugar and release oxygen as a quiet byproduct, the way a candle releases light. Forests are heroes too, but the sea is the big, patient factory. Fact 6. The planet hums so softly, it is easy to miss. Ocean waves pound distant coasts and send faint vibrations through the rock. Wind presses on mountains. Lightning flashes around the world and stirs an electromagnetic drum inside the sky. Scientists measure these gentle tones with tools, not ears. You do not need to hear them to feel their comfort. The world has a pulse, and it has had one for a very long time. Fact 7. Clouds are heavy, but they float with ease. A single puffy cloud can carry as much water as a small lake, yet tiny droplets and warm currents hold it up. When the air cools or thickens, the droplets join and fall. That is the sound of rain on roofs and leaves. A billion little returns to Earth. The clean smell that follows has a name: petrichor, from oils in soil, and a hint of geosmin released by microbes. Fact 8. The moon steadies us like a hand on a shoulder. Its gravity lifts the oceans into tides that rinse the shores and feed estuaries where life begins. It also keeps Earth's tilt from wobbling wildly. A steadier tilt means a steadier climate. If the sky looks calm tonight, thank the bright circle that rises slow and sets slow, always on time. Fact 9. Every glass of water is ancient. The molecules in a cup have been rivers, clouds, tears, and ice for billions of years. They drifted above dinosaurs. They froze in polar nights and hid in underground lakes. When you sip, you join a story older than language. There is comfort in that. Nothing is wasted here. Everything cycles and returns. Fact 10. The darkest night is not empty. It is carrying us a gift. High above the poles, the sun's charged breath meets Earth's magnetic shield and spills light like silk curtains. We call it the aurora. On some nights, the colors dance in green, pink, and violet. On most nights, the show is quiet and far away. Fact 11. Home is more crowded than it seems, and that is a gentle thing. You share your breath with ancient forests, coral reefs, and cities you have never seen. Every inhale takes in a few molecules that once drifted out of the mouth of someone long ago, and every exhale returns a few to the world. We belong to one atmosphere. Fact 12. Earth is not the biggest, hottest, or flashiest world. It is the coziest. We sit at a distance from the sun, where water can remain liquid. The rocks of our crust float on softer rock beneath, so continents can drift slowly and mountains can rise. Rivers carve paths and deliver gifts to the sea. This slow, patient kitchen makes soil, and soil makes food, and food makes us. Now take a deeper breath. Feel the floor hold you. Hear a soft fan or the faint hum of night. You are on a world that is very good at being safe. When daylight returns, it will be because we have turned, as we always do, toward the sun again. Until then, let these quiet truths keep you company. The planet under you is steady. The air around you is kind. The oceans breathe. The moon keeps watch. You can rest. Let's keep drifting, as if we're a quiet satellite gliding over our one blue home. From this calm distance, you can see how Earth is built for comfort. A soft shield, slow rhythms, and living systems that move like a lullaby. Start with the shield. Wrapped around our planet is an invisible bubble born from moving metal deep within. That motion makes a magnetic field that deflects much of the sun's charged wind. You cannot feel it, but it is always there, like an umbrella held over your head. When the solar breeze brushes that shield, light shivers across polar skies and paints the aurora. Most nights, it simply hums a quiet kind of safety. Beneath your feet, the ground is not a statue. Far below the crust, warmer rock flows like thick honey over very long times, carrying continents the way sea ice carries a leaf. Mountains rise, rain wears them down, grains become beaches, and stone forms again. The land looks still because its change is so slow. That stillness lets us build, plant, and rest. Rivers add to the calm. They are Earth's soft handwriting, meandering from hills to sea. They spread into deltas that cradle cities and fields. Hold a grain of sand, and you hold a tiny record of a mountain's past, rounded smooth by countless gentle pushes of water. Now look at the thin film that makes life possible: soil. In a teaspoon of healthy soil live more organisms than there are people on Earth. Mostly unseen, they turn leaves to food for roots, fix nutrients, and stitch the ground so rain can soak in. It is an orchestra of helpers playing softly underfoot. Above the soil, forests breathe in a steady rhythm. Trees pull water from the ground and release it to the air through tiny pores, sending up cool, invisible plumes that help form clouds. Underground, threads of helpful fungi connect roots. Through these threads, trees can share resources and signals, nudging nutrients toward a shaded neighbor or a thirsty seedling. A forest is not just many trees, it is a community that cares for itself. Move to the ocean, and the lullaby deepens. The sea is a cradle for oxygen makers so small they drift on sunlight, and it is home to gentle giants. Whales sing notes that travel far through water, long vowels rolling like foghorns. A calf swims close to its mother's side, learning the path by touch and sound. In kelp forests, ribbons sway with the surge. A green cathedral where fish, shelter, and light flickers down like patient rain. On warm coasts, tiny coral animals build reefs grain by grain, raising living breakwaters that soften waves and shelter newborn fish. Twice each day, the oceans lean in and lean back. Tides are the planet's steady breath, pulled by the moon's slow tug. On quiet nights, you can hear the pattern, wavelets hurrying forward, then whispering back over sand. Many shore creatures time their lives to this rhythm, feeding and hatching by the sea's familiar steps. In the sky, light is softened by air. At sunrise and sunset, sunlight travels a longer path through the atmosphere, so the sharp blues scatter away and the gentle reds and golds remain. That is why dawn looks warm, even on a cold day. The air is doing you a kindness, dimming glare, lighting cloud edges, resting your eyes. After the sun slips below the horizon, twilight eases the day into night. Listen to natural noise, and you will notice something steady. Rain, surf, and wind in the trees make broad, even sound that masks sharper distractions. Many people call it white noise or brown noise. The real thing is all around: a fan, a distant waterfall, Crickets at the edge of a field, regular heartbeats of a living planet. Animals have peaceful tricks too. Dolphins and some birds can let half the brain sleep at a time, gliding safely while the other side rests. Great whales sometimes nap upright, drifting like tall logs near the surface. Desert animals hide through the hot day and step out under cool stars. Even sloths, with their unhurried pace, remind us that a slow life can still be full and safe. All of this connects to you. Your body carries an inner clock that listens to light and darkness. Darkness tells your brain to release a sleepy hormone, and morning light tells it to start fresh. When you dim the room, breathe slowly, and hear a steady sound, you step back into Earth's rhythms. The planet turns, the shield holds, the seas rise and fall, forests share, and clouds return. You are built to live inside these patterns. So let's float a little longer over the night side. Cities glow like warm embers scattered across a hearth. Thunderheads flash far away, quiet as a whisper from space. The aurora folds and unfolds at the poles like silk in a slow breeze. Somewhere waves are rolling pebble against pebble with the care of a craftsman smoothing wood. Somewhere a fox curls into its own warmth under a spruce. Somewhere snow quilts a field, while a creek writes its calm sentence toward the sea. Tonight, everything essential is happening on its own schedule. The shield is up, the tides are steady, the air is kind to light, the ground is patient. The living networks are at work, taking care of the small things so you can let go of the big ones. When morning comes, you will turn toward the sun again, as you always do. Until then, breathe with the planet. You are home, and home is gentle. Begin with something small and kind. Picture a drop of dew holding the morning sky in its curve. Night cooled the grass, the air slowed, and water gathered into tiny pearls. When sunlight returns, each bead glows, then slips back into the day. Dew is one of Earth's softest greetings. Fog is dew that learned to float. It smooths hard edges, hushes distance, and makes hills into islands in a pale sea. Even the forest relaxes, birds call closer, footsteps turn gentle. The world is still there, only wrapped like a warm blanket. Snow is the other great hush. A fresh fall lays quiet over branches and roofs. Sound sinks into its tiny chambers, and the neighborhood feels far away even when it is near. Each flake forms a six-fold design in the cloud, then settles without hurry. The sky makes lace and lays it down for us to walk across. Rain has many moods, and most of them soothe. First drops tap a curious rhythm, then comes the steady patter that knits puddles together. A roof becomes a drum. Leaves play 1,000 soft notes. Warm pavement releases a clean smell that says air and ground are in conversation again. Now, listen to slow-breathing water. In marshes, wind combs reeds into ripples of sound. In lakes, small waves lap ashore with glassy whispers. On the open ocean, long swells travel for days from far storms and arrive like measured heartbeats. On some warm nights, waves glow with plankton, tiny drifters turning motion into blue fire. Walk a step, and the shoreline answers with light. At low tide, the beach lays out time. Shells and driftwood sort by weight and shape. Fine sand settles in curving fans. Coarser grains keep their small clatter. Pick up a pebble and feel its smoothness, the record of countless rolls between water and stone, a conversation that ends in calm. Quiet engineers work where we rarely look. On reefs, tiny polyps stack limestone rooms until walls soften waves. In forests, moss spreads where little else can grow, keeping moisture and nudging rock toward future soil. On prairies, grasses lay deep roots that stitch land against wind and drought. None of it shouts, it just continues. Light keeps the pace. There is a short window each day when the sky turns cool and shadows soften the blue hour. You do not need a camera to feel its gift. Then comes golden hour, when sunlight slants low and makes everything look warm and kind. Tilt, air, and horizon work together to turn minutes into medicine. Even darkness is designed to calm. Far from towns, the Milky Way gathers like a river of frost. Your eyes adjust, more stars appear than you thought possible. Your heart settles to the slow tempo of the night. For most of history, that was the normal roof over evening talk. Animals live inside these comforts with ease. Swallows arc over water at dusk, catching insects like dancers lifting petals. Sea turtles press their eggs into cool sand by moonlight. Monarch butterflies ride tailwinds and stitch a continent with orange threads. Humpback whales sing through water that carries their notes for miles, a choir made of distance. In deserts, nights are a balm. Heat releases from stone, air loses its glare. Owls float between saguaro arms. Insects add a steady shimmer to the silence. Dawn arrives with the softest palette, peach, lilac, faint gold, and a cool that lingers just long enough to be remembered at noon. In cities, soft rhythms still find a way. Plane trees drop leaves that gather in warm colors along sidewalks. Rain braids the light of traffic into ribbons on wet streets. Pigeons coo from ledges with a sound that could be a fountain if you close your eyes. Parks breathe out at night. First sun on glass turns towers into tall lanterns that seem to hum rather than shine. There is kindness in cooperation. Bees sweep a meadow because flowers offer promises in scent and color. Clams clean water by eating. Earthworms draw leaves underground and leave rich tunnels like a baker kneading dough. Rivers, clouds, roots, fungi, plankton, and reefs exchange gifts in a quiet circle with no beginning and no end. Your body mirrors the planet. Heartbeat slows when breath slows. Breath slows when thoughts soften. Thoughts soften when your eyes rest on something steady. Waves, embers, leaves, or a moon that grows and shrinks on a schedule older than maps. A warm drink tells your nervous system the world is safe enough to drift. A dim room tells your inner clock that the gentle night shift has begun. Carry this image into sleep. Earth from the window of a silent craft. Below, a wide river pours silver under the moon. Clouds lie like folded linen across a dark plain. Somewhere a lighthouse sends a slow, perfect blink across black water. Somewhere a train crosses a valley, and its lights move like thoughtful beads on a string. Over the pole, the aurora unrolls and rolls back like a sail in patient wind. Everything that calms you tonight is normal here. Dew will return. Fog will lift and settle. Snow will hush when needed. Rain will write soft code on roofs, and waves will answer the moon. Animals will travel by gentle cues. Your own rhythms will take theirs from light and darkness, warmth and cool, quiet and steady sound. This is how Earth carries its children into rest. You do not need to count stars or measure waves to belong to this peace. Let the planet's reliable habits mark the minutes while you set your concerns down. The world beneath you is practiced at comfort. It has spent ages smoothing stone, stitching soil, and filing the sharpness off days. Close your eyes and lean into that skill. Earth will keep watch. Morning will come on time. From the quiet edge of space, Earth looks like a lantern with a patient heartbeat. Lightning pulses along cloud tops, then fades. Rivers thread silver through dark land. Oceans hold a deep, even blue that seems to breathe. As you glide over this calm world, feel how many parts of it were built to ease you toward rest. Gravity is the first promise. It is constant and kind, pulling everything home with a gentle hand. Toss a pebble and it arcs in a smooth curve. Mist hangs, then drifts down like confetti moving in slow motion. Leaves that fall in autumn are not lost. They are being returned to the ground that grew them. A soft exchange between branch and soil. Air makes the next promise. Though it is invisible, the atmosphere rests on you like an even blanket spread on every side at once. Because the pressure is balanced, you do not feel squeezed, you feel held. That same air spreads warmth from crowded places to quiet ones, turns harsh sun into soft color at dawn and dusk, and carries the familiar scents that tell your memory, you are safe. You are home. The oceans keep time on a longer scale. Surface waters travel in slow rivers called currents. delivering comfort across whole basins. Warm streams drift toward cooler shores and take the edge off winter. Cool streams slide toward hot coasts and offer relief. Beneath them, a global loop moves like a planet-sized conveyor, sinking cold water and lifting it elsewhere, steady as a sleeper's breath. Deserts, too, have a hush that belongs to them alone. Wind sorts sand by size, raises it into dunes, and combs ripples across their backs. Some dunes can sing. When dry grains tumble together, they hum a low note that hangs in the air like a cello held on one tone. Out there, night falls with a velvet suddenness, and the sky becomes a bowl thick with stars. Step underground, and the world keeps its vow of evenness. In caves, temperature barely changes. Water taps the same patient rhythm for centuries, laying down stone curtains one drop at a time. Stalactites grow the way a good habit grows quietly, with persistence, until a hall that was once rough becomes a gallery of stone chandeliers. Forests make villages of comfort. Under the canopy, wind slows, light scatters, and the air holds a hint of green cool that feels like shade turned into breath. Needles and leaves catch rain and pass it gently to the floor. In this softened climate, deer move unhurried, and the smallest lives can go about their work without a rush. At night, owls make a sound that seems made of distance, low, rounded, and forgiving. On summer evenings near wetlands, fireflies trade signals until their blinking synchronizes. A dozen become 100, 100 become a river of soft light, switching on and off together as if the whole meadow has decided to breathe in time. This is not a trick, only a way life finds order, and watching it can calm the mind that is used to noise. Coasts offer their own medicine. Mangrove forests lift on roots like stilts and knit shorelines together, turning sharp waves into softened swells. Tide pools hold small, clear worlds where anemones open, like slow flowers, and tiny crabs tiptoe with careful purpose. The boundary between land and sea, which could be a line of conflict, becomes an agreement written twice a day by the moon. Even the shapes of some rocks speak a gentle language. Where old lava cooled slowly, pillars formed with neat edges that fit together like tiled floors. On high plains, ancient lakes left terraces that step down with a walker's stride. Time smoothed what was sharp, filed what was jagged, and left patterns your eyes can rest on without effort. Cities, when you listen for it, borrow this ease. A park path curves the way a river would. A well-tuned train glides in with a low, steady rumble that feels like distant surf. In the warmer months, a chorus of night insects writes a soft net of sound that holds you. After rain, reflections turn streets into gentle mirrors, and the noise of the day is braided into a consistent hush. Your body replies to all of this in a language older than words. Warmth loosens muscles. Dim light tells your inner clock to send sleep through your veins. A steady sound fan, rain, waves, wind encourages your breath to match its pace. When your breath slows, your heart follows. When your heart settles, thoughts line up and pass by like calm clouds, and gaps open between them where sleep can enter. Earth gives you cues everywhere, a twig tracing concentric rings where it fell into a puddle, reeds bending the same way in a marsh wind, a heron placing each foot as if the water were glass. Heavy snow pressing branches down until they touch the lower ones like two hands meeting. Each scene adds weight to the same message: you can let go now. So imagine one last sweep from night into day. You drift from the dark Pacific to mountains blue with early light. Fog rests in the folds like milk poured into a bowl. Farther on, cities brighten softly, window by window. Frost melts to a glittering skin on fields, then disappears, absorbed without fuss. The coast returns, the tide turns, and a lighthouse gives its measured blink. High above, the aurora dims as the sun unrolls the morning. Everything essential is on schedule. Gravity keeps its promise, air keeps its balance, water keeps its roots, fireflies find their rhythm, Stone takes the long view. If a thought tugs at your sleeve, let it pass by, as clouds pass the moon noticed, then left to float on. You are riding with a planet that has practiced calm for a very long time. Trust its practice. Let it carry you over the threshold into rest. From the window of a silent craft, Earth shows a thin blue seam where day meets night. That delicate line is air, just a few hand-widths thick, yet it does a generous job. It warms, it softens light, it carries rain from places with plenty to places that are waiting. The oceans answer with balance. Evaporation lifts water without any effort from us. Clouds drift, reshape, and finally let go, returning what they borrowed. Rivers collect those returns and guide them home again. A raindrop may visit mountain, marsh, field, and estuary before it settles into the sea. Nothing is wasted. The same gentle traveler keeps reappearing in new forms, each time offering comfort somewhere else. Even the ground is thoughtful. On cool mornings in valleys, air flows downhill like a hidden river and makes small pockets of fog that dissolve when the sun climbs. On hot afternoons in cities, shade pools under trees the way water pools in hollows, inviting people and birds to pause. The planet keeps moving heat around until edges soften. Plants take their cues from this rhythm. Many leaves arrange themselves in spirals that share light without crowding, a quiet geometry you can see in a sunflower's face or an aloe's tower. Desert succulents open tiny pores at night when the air is cooler and close them by day to hold their water in. In forests, the canopy tints daylight green, lower branches break the wind, and the floor stays moist, ready for new life. Animals join in with craft and care. Honeybees keep their hives at a near constant warmth by fanning their wings together like a living ventilator. Emperor penguins face the wind as one, then ripple their huddle so every bird spends time at the warm center. Tree frogs seal themselves in tiny leaf tents during dry spells and wait with a peaceful economy of effort. Each habit says the same thing. Energy, like daylight, should be used with kindness. Under the surface, small builders set the stage for quiet. Termite mounds breathe through chimneys and hidden vents, trading stale air for fresh without a fan. Coral reefs grow by thin layers, making courtyards and alleys where waves lose their sharpness. Earthworms pull leaves down into the soil and leave behind tidy castings that make ground springy again. If you have ever stepped onto a garden bed that yields and holds, you have felt their work. Some places turn sound itself into a blanket. In a snowy wood, a footstep fades as if it has been absorbed by the day. In a cave, one drop repeats until your heartbeat starts to match its pace. Along a long beach, the steady hush of surf outruns any stray thought. Even a city, after midnight, changes voice. Tires on wet pavement become a low river. Distant trains a reassuring drum. A neighbor's dishwasher the soft beat of life carrying on. The sky contributes patterns that settle the mind. High, thin clouds stretch into brushes that predict fair weather. Lower, billowing clouds build, rain, and clear on a timetable you can read with practice. After a storm, the air feels rinsed and easy to breathe. On rare nights, you may see a halo around the moon ice crystals at work, bending light in a way so orderly it draws a circle in the dark. Time writes gently on living things. A tree ring saved from a fallen trunk carries the memory of wet years and dry ones, but the spacing is usually moderate, a sign that seasons came and went in sane succession. In coral, faint bands keep count of summers and winters, a slow calendar printed in stone. In those marks, the world says, I kept the schedule, you can sleep. Coasts show how edges can be kind. Salt marshes filter water like a patient sieve. Mangroves stand on roots as if the forest had lifted its hem, creating calm nursery rooms for small fish. Dunes hold back storms, and then slowly rebuild themselves grain by grain. Even the wind learns a softer accent when it passes through seagrass. When night takes its turn, navigation lights blink from towers and runways, reassuring anyone awake that watchkeepers are on duty. Farther up, our shield glows faintly. You live under it. Deep in the dark, migratory birds follow stars and coastline curves as reliably as a commuter following a favorite road home. Your senses are tuned to this calm. The scent after rain tells ancient parts of your brain that water is nearby and food will follow. The color of late light eases your eyes and slows your breath. The feel of cool sheets, the steady whir of a fan, the dimming of a room, all of it echoes what the planet already does. Lower noise, lower heat, lower light, then rest. If a worry circles, give it an orbit to follow. Picture the planet turning under it, drawing it along until sunrise comes and shows it from a kinder angle. In the meantime, let Earth carry the load of being awake. Rivers will travel their routes without supervision. Winds will sort themselves out. Bees will mind the thermostat. The tides will keep the moon company and report back right on time. Now come back to that window. The thin blue seam has rotated. A different coastline glows in soft amber. Over the pole, aurora curtains fold and unfold. Over the tropics, thunderheads sparkle like slow pulse beats. Somewhere, a lighthouse throws its measured blink across black water. Somewhere, a farmhouse dog sighs and settles. Somewhere, snow slides from a pine bough with a gentle shush, and the branch rises, relieved. Everything essential is underway. The rhythm is steady. The caretakers are countless and quiet. You do not have to do anything except breathe with them. Let your breath be a tide, your thoughts like small boats rocking at their moorings. The world will turn. Morning will arrive on schedule. Between now and then, you are allowed to float. Let the night carry you a little farther. The planet beneath you keeps offering small proofs that it was made with comfort in mind, and each one is steady enough to lean on. Begin with color. From space, blue covers most of Earth. Oceans make a calm backdrop. Land lays soft greens and browns on top. Our eyes evolved under these tones, so they feel familiar and kind. At sunrise and sunset, those colors warm to gold and rose as light takes a longer path through air. Even the darkest night saves a hint of blue near the horizon, a quiet promise that morning waits just beyond the curve. Now think about pattern. The same shapes repeat in many places because they are gentle and efficient. Spirals show up in shells, in seed heads, in the slow curve of a storm. They gather and spread without crowding. Branching shows up in trees, rivers, and the lines in your lungs. It shares flow without force. Ripples appear in sand, snow, and clouds. They spread energy out so nothing is sharp. When your eyes rest on these patterns, your breath tends to match their pace. Wind follows patterns that soothe as well. During the day, near a shore, cooler sea air slides inland, and in the evening, air glides back toward the water. Mountain valleys trade breezes morning and night. These gentle exchanges move heat, the way hands smooth a blanket, evening out folds and edges. The result is a climate that rarely jumps but mostly glides. Many places keep daily schedules that minds can trust. In the tropics, warm rains often arrive in the afternoon, like a bell that rings and then grows quiet. Along dry coasts, a light wind rises after noon, then rests toward evening. On islands, surf sets a tempo you can learn in a single day. The long draw, the clean crest, the soft collapse. To listen is to remember that predictability is a form of care. Water carries the idea of care into rock. In canyons, a river writes a smooth curve against stone, polishing roughness until walls grow graceful. On sea cliffs, waves tap and withdraw for centuries, and the coast answers by settling into scoops and coves that cradle small beaches. Underground, slow drips build rounded pools that mirror their ceilings with a quiet that seems to hold time in place. Light extends the kindness. Moonlight is weak compared to the sun, but the eye is good at using small amounts. Pale beams slide through curtains, silver the edges of leaves, and turn a sleeping room into a place you can navigate without waking fully. Starlight takes longer routes, but still arrives, laying a faint map across fields and roofs. Wild creatures read that map without effort. You can too, with the simple comfort of knowing it's there. Earth offers warmth in careful, gentle ways. Hot springs rise along quiet faults, steaming softly on cold mornings. Geothermal heat seeps up under snow and keeps thin circles of open water where swans can rest. In deep winter forests, a south-facing slope gathers sunlight like a bowl and gives animals a place to bask. None of this is loud. It is warmth that whispers. Even fire has a calm face on Earth. Far from towns, slow ground fires creep through old pine forests, clearing clutter and making space for new growth. Some cones open only after gentle heat. After such a passage, the forest floor greens quickly, and the next rain writes a clean scent into the air. Renewal does not always arrive with noise. Often it shows up as room to breathe. Beneath the surface, gentle light returns. In some caves and forest rivers, tiny beings glow, making pinprick constellations on ceilings and banks. In warm seas, reefs host nights where plankton flare when touched, and swimmers leave blue wakes that fade like slow sparks. Bioluminescence is nature's soft lantern, a signal that even in darkness, communication can be kind. Soils, too, make quiet promises. A meadow that has rested grows spongy underfoot. Each step is absorbed and returned, as if the ground itself were a patient cushion. Prairie roots reach deep, holding moisture for dry spells and keeping the surface smooth through wind. In orchards, fallen leaves become next year's sweetness. In gardens, compost turns leftovers into plenty, with no speech at all. Cities can join this chorus when we let them. Street trees lift canopies that filter glare. Green roofs trade heat for shade. Water features add steady sound that masks sharp edges. A bench in a pocket park offers a view framed by branches and sky. And for a few breaths, even a busy day moves at the speed of clouds. Your body listens without effort. A darkened room echoes night. A cool pillow echoes shaded stone. A blanket's even weight echoes calm air. A warm mug tells your nerves that safety is near. A steady sound gives your breath a pace. You do not have to force this, only notice. Hold one scene before you drift. A marsh lifts and settles as a breeze passes. A hillside rings softly with sheep bells. A small ferry slides across a quiet strait, its wake fanning into silver scales. The planet keeps laying out gentle paths and invites you to follow at an easy pace. The schedule is intact. The shapes repeat. The colors soothe. Warmth and cool trade hands without hurry. If a thought returns, let it spiral outward like a ripple and fade into the larger pattern. The world knows how to unwind a day. Let it unwind this one for you. Close your eyes, nestle into the steady pressure of the air itself, and let Earth do what it has always done, carry you, quietly, toward morning. Follow a single breath of wind as it begins over a quiet sea at night. The water is slightly cooler than the land, so air slides outward in a slow sheet, smooth as silk being pulled across a table. It gathers scents, salt, kelp, a hint of rain, waiting, the clean mineral smell of spray. By the time it reaches a sleeping town, curtains move a finger's width. Someone turns on their side and settles again. The planet has changed the page without waking the reader. At dawn, light keeps its promise. Birds begin before the sun breaks the horizon because they feel the brightening long in advance. Your eyes do too. Even with lids closed, that growing glow tells your inner clock that the day is nearly here. The message is gentle. Wake when you are ready. The world will wait. Mountains make their own calm customs. On summer afternoons, air rises up warm slopes and gathers harmless clouds like sheep along the ridges. As evening cools, the air flows back down into valleys and pools there, settling fog into soft bowls. These local winds are small couriers carrying comfort where it is wanted. Cool air to orchards, steady dryness to stone, a hush to villages as night takes its turn. In winter, ice writes quiet geometry. Lakes freeze from the top down, sealing the water below under a clear lid, so fish can keep moving in the coldest months. Snowpack sits like a bank account on high peaks, saving water until spring warmth releases it slow enough for flowers, farms, and forests to drink in sequence. The timing has been practiced for ages. Rivers remember to meander. Their S-curves are not laziness but care. A winding path spreads force across long banks instead of crashing straight ahead. Where bends form, calm backwaters appear and become nurseries for minnows, reeds, and patient turtles sunning on logs. If you have ever watched a slow river from a bridge and felt steady inside, you were reading a lesson written on water. Beaches write the same lesson in sand. Small waves arrive with perfect manners, lay a thin skin of water over the shore, and slide back with a brush of bubbles that sounds like a crowd whispering kindly. The foam leaves lace that vanishes as the next line approaches, a tidy script that erases itself to make room for the next sentence. Forests speak in soft exchanges. Under the leaf litter, beetles and springtails reduce yesterday's shade into tomorrow's soil. Fungal threads stitch root to root, moving tiny gifts, water, minerals, warnings without fanfare. A fallen trunk does not end the story. It becomes a nurse log, cool and damp, where seedlings take their first easy breaths. Even decay is organized to feel like a handoff rather than a fall. Prairies calm the wind, tall grasses flex and flow, turning gusts into rolling waves that travel rather than strike. In late summer, warm air shimmers above seed heads and crickets set a tempo that makes the evening feel measured. Coyotes sing from far ridges with voices that sound like distance itself, and then the field goes on breathing. Night itself has housekeeping habits that comfort. Dew collects on leaves and rails, cooling metal and easing dust back to earth. Spiders restring silk across garden paths before dawn. Bats patrol invisible routes, tidying the sky of insects that would rather not be there. By morning, the world has been reset, ready without fuss. City nights know these cues too. Street trees, cradle nests, and each small garden becomes a tiny prairie for moths. The regular hum of refrigerators and distant buses becomes a soft floor for sleep to stand on. In the still hours, you can hear your own house breathe, pipes settling, wood shifting, the gentle metronome of a clock that keeps time so you do not have to. Look up and the stars offer the longest reassurance. The turning of Earth draws them in patient arcs. If you have ever watched a time-lapse of star trails, you know the feeling of being inside a slow, perfect machine. Polaris holds near the center in northern skies, a quiet hinge. Sailors once trusted it with their lives. Tonight it can simply hold your attention until your eyelids lower. There is kindness in ordinary gravity too. The tide that tucks a bay to sleep also lifts a kelp forest just enough for sunlight to reach new fronds. The weight that keeps you to your bed also keeps mountains from leaping and air from racing away. Gravity is the world's firm but gentle hand. It lets you put your concerns down and know they will remain where you leave them until morning. Even the smallest inhabitants lean toward calm. Snails move with patient precision, drawing glossy lines across stone. Earth stars open after rain and close again when air is dry, tiny umbrellas knowing when to rest. Bees drowse on flowers in cool dawns, dusted with pollen like bakers with flour, waking only when warmth returns. Everyone has a schedule, and it is usually kind. Carry one last image into drifting. A lighthouse rotates a white fan across quiet water. Each sweep is measured, unhurried, reliable. Between flashes, the sea is a dark field with a long, even swell. Far inland, a lonely highway sees a single set of headlights glide over a hill and away. A farmhouse window relights, then darkens as someone refills a glass, returns to bed, and is asleep before the next wave reaches shore. Earth will keep the beat, winds will trade places without fuss, ice will hold and release on cue, rivers will write their smooth letters, forests will handle their exchanges beneath the surface. Cities will hum their low lullaby. Stars will turn. If a thought wakes to be counted, give it to the lighthouse and let it sail outward. You are allowed to rest while the planet continues its unhurried work. Open your window in imagination and hear the first quiet singers. Long before the sun shows a rim of gold, birds begin a soft chorus. They feel the sky brightening and choose that safe moment to practice their songs. By the time light touches rooftops, the air already carries a pattern your heartbeat can follow. Plants wake with the same patience, petals open with morning cool and close. When noon grows bright, a slow blink that saves water and invites gentle visitors. Sunflowers face the light and ease back at dusk, as if nodding thank you. Even a houseplant reaching toward a window tells you that the day has a direction and the night has a rest. Rainbows are Earth's geometry done in color. Sunlight meets round droplets and returns in an arc. Each person sees their own rainbow because every pair of eyes stands at a slightly different angle to light and rain. Sometimes a second, paler bow appears an echo that simply repeats the curve and reminds you that order can be gentle. Winter is a friendly pause. Seeds lie tucked in soil like letters waiting to be opened. Bears breathe slow under snow. Trees pull sap inward and stand quiet, saving energy for the exact day when warmth returns. Rivers calm themselves under glassy lids of ice, holding motion just below stillness. Lakes breathe on a schedule you can't see. In the cool of fall and the mild of spring, surface waters slip down and deeper waters rise, sharing oxygen and warmth. The whole lake turns over, as if rolling to a more comfortable side. No one directs it. Water listens to temperature and gravity and chooses balance. Along the coast, ocean meadows smooth the world. Seagrass waves in shallow blue, slowing waves, holding sand, and giving young fish quiet rooms to grow. Overhead, pelicans draw careful lines across sky and fold into the water with a soft punctuation. A moment later, the surface closes and the story continues. On rocky shores, tide pools keep tiny calendars. When the sea leans back, anemones open, snails write silver trails, little crabs tiptoe between pebbles. When the sea leans in, lids close and everything waits without worry for the next breath. Watching one pool for a few minutes teaches patience with no lecture at all. Moss and lichens are the slow caretakers of stone. They arrive where almost nothing else can live, hold dew, soften edges, and begin the long change from rock to soil. Some lichens grow only the thickness of a coin in a decade. Their pace is the opposite of hurry and the definition of endurance. Glaciers are rivers of ice that move too slowly for panic. They lift pebbles and lay them down miles away, making wide U-shaped valleys that later gather lakes and meadows. If you have ever sat by a cold blue lake that thinks before it ripples, you have felt the hush they leave behind. Deserts hold clocks of their own. After a thin rain, tiny flowers open all at once, paint the plain with brief color, and set seeds for another patient wait. Some bushes catch fog on their leaves and drink a drop at a time. Shadows move with a firmness that calms short at noon, long and golden by late day, then disappear as the sky lifts a blanket of stars. Forests keep museums of light. In bright openings, butterflies turn sunlight into color that seems to float. In the understory, shafts of brightness mark time like slow sundials. Near streams, ferns uncurl to full fronds, with a grace you can miss if you hurry. Pause, and the air settles a little lower, a natural invitation to rest. Animals know the map of gentle routes. Caribou follow valleys and rivers on paths taught by weather and scent. Salmon return to home streams by the taste of water and the pull of mountains. Sea turtles rise for air with the timing of a sigh. Tiny warblers cross continents by leaning into seasonal tailwinds. High above, the moon keeps offering tidy cues. It grows and shrinks in a month-long dance that coastlines red in tides and many creatures use as a calendar. Farmers have planted by that soft lamp, sailors have steered by it, and children have counted its shapes from windows, finding comfort in its reliable change. The air writes notes you can feel. A breeze slides from sea to shore by day, then returns at night. Warm roofs release their heat after sunset, and a faint smell of dust and stone rises like memory. Just before dawn, cool air slips down hillsides and pools in hollows, making grass sparkle with dew. Each move spreads comfort where it is needed. Even human places can learn from these patterns. An east-facing window gives morning light to a quiet room. A small fountain sets a steady tone that makes thoughtless noise step back. A few plants lean toward the day and remind you to turn the same way. Lowering lamps in the evening tells your inner clock that the planet has dimmed the sky. Keep one picture as you drift: a meadow at the edge of a lake just after rain. Mist threads the pines. A thrush sings 2 clear notes, and then a long, sweet answer. Rings spread where a trout kisses the surface. Across the water, a bell on a dock knocks once, then is still. The clouds thin, the sun returns softly, and every color brightens without glare. Everything here holds to schedules that have earned your trust. Birds greet light, plants pace their days, water trades places with care. Ice moves like patience given shape. The moon keeps time with a quiet hand. If a thought arrives with edges, let it stand in the rain of these patterns until it rounds off and rolls away. The planet is doing the night shift. You can sleep. Imagine dawn as a soft wave that travels around the world, circling the planet again and again. While one city sleeps, another yawns and stirs, and the light keeps moving like a fingertip brushing the edge of a spinning bowl. Nothing rushes. Sunrise is always on its way somewhere, and sunset is always tidying up behind it. You are part of that rhythm even when you are still. On the balanced days when light and dark share the hours evenly, the world seems to pause and nod. Birds adjust their roots. Leaves turn their quiet pages from green to gold. The longer and shorter days that follow are only variations on a theme, a calm melody played in different keys. Look at the sky for gentle order. High, thin veils stretch into brushstrokes that suggest fair weather. Lower, even clouds make a soft gray ceiling that keeps light kind. Far at sea, trade winds shepherd small white towers across blue. The air is following its manners. In rainforests, leaves have drip tips, little points that guide water off without tearing the leaf. During a shower, the forest does not crash. It murmurs. Drops gather, run to the tip, and let go, a soft metronome that keeps time for frogs and patient cats. Afterward, steam rises in pale curtains, and the whole green room exhales. Wetlands are the planet's quilts. Marshes, swamps, and bogs hold water when there is too much, and release it when there is not enough. Roots knit mud, reeds sway, herons step like careful thoughts. In flood season the quilt thickens, in dry months it thins. In every season it keeps the land comfortable. Some animals make calm into a lifestyle. Manatees graze underwater meadows like unhurried cows, lifting to breathe and sinking again, weightless as clouds. Giant tortoises move as if time were wide, placing each foot with considerate certainty. Panda mothers cradle one small cub and spend the day in slow attention. Watching them is like listening to a lullaby in motion. Forests share quiet gifts you can feel. Pine and cedar release subtle scents that tell old parts of your brain it is safe to lower your shoulders. Under a canopy, light scatters into a softer green, and the air cools a degree or two. Your breathing matches the slow sway of branches, and worry finds fewer edges to catch on. Night gives you lights that keep promises. Planets shine with a steady glow that does not twinkle much, because they are close enough for their faces to be broad. Venus visits evenings and mornings like a punctual friend. Orion rises in winter with his familiar belt. Scorpius glides through summer. Constellations are maps of reliability. There is calm underneath everything loud. Far below the crust, Earth's heat moves like a slow tide in rock, raising and lowering continents by inches over ages. Those movements help power the magnetic shield that keeps much of the sun's charged breath at bay. You cannot sense that directly, but you can see its signature in the aurora and feel its comfort in the way life goes on, uninterrupted. Your body takes cues from the same schedules. As evening comes, your core temperature drifts slightly lower, like a lake cooling at night. Sleep follows that slope. When morning light reaches your eyes, your inner clock begins the workday without your command. You do not have to manage any of this. It happens because you live here, and here has routines. Along coasts, sand writes proof of patience. Wind sketches ripples that keep their pattern through whole seasons. Dunes shift slowly, marching inland a few feet in a year, then pausing when grasses pin them. Between storms, the beach is a workbook where the tide draws and erases, each page turned by the moon. If you have ever stood barefoot at the edge and felt your footprints fill, you have learned how gently the world edits. Think of the polar night, where darkness lasts many hours and everything slows to match. Snow plugs the small sounds. The aurora writes silent cursive across the sky. In a warm cabin, a kettle murmurs and windows glow like lanterns buried in drifts. Time there is thick and kind, tailored for rest. Now return to your room, wherever it is, with this planet-sized reassurance folded inside it. The same rules apply here. Dimming light invites rest. Steady sound steadies breath. Warmth where you want it, and cool where you do not. Put a thought down, and gravity will keep it. Close your eyes, and the world will keep watch. Hold one picture as you drift, a cove where water lays silver scallops on sand, a heron standing so still the day rests on its back, a pine leaning over the shore like a friend. Far out, a buoy rings a single note, then waits. The sky is tender blue that deepens by degrees. Somewhere, beyond the headland, the sun lowers without hurry. Everything essential is proceeding correctly. The wave of dawn is already building over the next horizon. The shield is in place. The winds are trading hands. Rivers are drafting their smooth letters, and the sea is practicing tomorrow's tide. You are on a world that prefers the gentle solution. Let it teach you, one breath at a time, how to let go. Settle into the idea that Earth is always making small adjustments for comfort. Clouds drift to soften light. Breezes trade places to move warmth where it is needed. Currents carry the sea's temper across basins like a slow conveyor. None of this asks anything of you. It works whether you notice or not. Edges are where gentleness does its best work. Twilight smooths the change from bright to dark so your eyes can relax without effort. Along the shore, waves break hard offshore, then arrive as folded lace that washes sand clean. At a forest margin, wind slows, sunlight scatters, and birds find easy perches. The planet rounds corners that might have been sharp. Listen to water when it chooses a softer voice. Springs do not burst out, they seep, laying clear threads across stone. Creeks speak in syllables shaped by pebbles, the pitch lowering as rocks get rounder. A small fall becomes a steady hiss-broad sound that fills a room the way a blanket fills a bed. Your mind hears the pattern and lets go of counting. The sky holds tiny signals that reassure. Sometimes a thin young moon shows a faint ghostly circle within its crescent. That glow is light reflected from Earth back onto the moon, and then back to you, proof that even in darkness, there are gentle returns. On rare, perfectly clear mornings, a soft triangle of light can rise before dawn in very dark places. It is sunlight dusted across the inner solar system, so faint it feels like a secret the sky kept for patient eyes. Birds offer lessons in easy cooperation. Geese fly in a wide V, and each bird benefits from the lift of the one ahead, taking turns at the front so no single flyer tires first. In evening, a flock of small birds may draw flowing shapes against the fading sky, turning as one without touching. Watching them smooths your own breathing. Quiet builders teach water to slow down. Beavers stack sticks and mud until a rush becomes a pool. Behind their work, silt settles, plants root, and frogs find rooms to sing. Oysters filter cloudy water into clarity, one small mouthful at a time, and reefs of shells blunt waves for the marsh behind them. Land remembers heat and shares it gently. Stone walls catch sun by day and give it back after dark, taking the edge off night air in gardens. South-facing slopes warm early and invite the first bees. North slopes hold cool and offer a refuge when noon grows loud. Even a city can learn this language, leafy streets that shade, fountains that add a steady hush, courtyards that gather a pocket of calm. In quiet fields, insects become timekeepers. Crickets set a tempo that shifts with temperature, faster on warm evenings, and slower when the air turns cool. Cicadas surface on their own calendars, some after many patient years underground, lifting a chorus that rises and falls like wind in tall grass. Underground, water keeps to unhurried paths. It threads between grains of sand and through tiny cracks in rock, meeting itself in aquifers that move so slowly you could walk beside them and never see the surface change. When that water returns as a spring, it often comes at the base of a hill, with no fanfare, cold, clear, and steady. Mountains host gliders who waste nothing. Hawks and eagles circle in columns of warm rising air, letting Earth do the lifting. They tilt a feather, not a wing, to change lanes, then slide toward a ridge and rise again, riding the day's slow pulse. From the ground, their motion looks effortless because it island. Light adds kindness at every scale. In winter, snow reflects daylight, so rooms stay bright even under grey skies. In summer, leaves break sun into coins and scatter them on the ground, little bursts that sparkle without glare. Moonlight turns paths silver enough to follow at a walking pace. Starlight is faint but faithful, a thin thread that ties night together. Some of Earth's renewals are quiet by design. After a small, cool fire passes through long-needled pines, the forest floor opens, and the next rain sinks in more easily. Mushrooms answer, lifting from the leaf litter overnight as if the ground had exhaled, turning wood into soil, the way sleep turns a day's noise into order. By water, kindness takes on rhythm. On a lake at dusk, loons call with round, echoing notes that travel across flat water, like a hand smoothing a sheet. On a bay, a bell buoy rings the same tone each time the swell leans it. Each sound is steady enough to match your breath. Your body trusts these signals. A warm bath raises your skin temperature, and when you step into cooler air afterward, your core heat drifts down, and drowsiness arrives, your own tide beginning to ebb. Dim light tells your brain to pour sleep into your veins. Even the weight of a blanket echoes the even pressure of air itself. You are designed to settle when the planet does. Hold this image as you drift. A broad valley after rain. Mist lifts in thin veils. A train curves along the far slope with a low, forgiving rumble. Sheep bells answer like spaced-out stars of sound. The river has turned the color of tea and moves without hurry, writing long S's between willow roots. The last swallows skim the surface and then vanish into the reeds. Above it all, the first planet pricks the sky and holds steady. Everything necessary is proceeding. Dust is settling out of the air. Springs are feeding streams. Stones are giving back their heat. Birds are taking turns at the front. Reefs are straining water. Breezes are negotiating fair trades between warm and cool. Let the schedule continue without you. Breathe once for the sea coming in, once for it going out. The world knows the way. You may rest. Think of Earth as a careful host that sets the room just right before anyone arrives. It dims the lamps with clouds, turns down the noise with snow, opens a window with evening breeze, and keeps a steady temperature with the deep memory of water. You live inside that hospitality without needing to ask for it. Water's memory is long and soothing. Because oceans hold heat well, they soften the jump between seasons. Coasts rarely swing from freezing to sweltering overnight. The sea keeps last week's warmth and lends it back slowly, like a friend who never rushes the conversation. Even far inland, lakes and reservoirs play this calming role, laying a hand on the weather and saying, "Easy now." Tides add a slower clock to the days. When the moon and sun line up, the tides grow a little taller. When they pull at angles, they shrink. These spring and neap tides arrive on a schedule as reliable as breath. Shorebirds know it by heart. Fishermen time their launches to gentle moments. Walking a flat beach at low tide, you see wide mirrors of wet sand where sky and earth agree to meet halfway. Islands turn old fire into quiet refuge. A volcano can sink over ages, but coral keeps growing toward the light, building a ring that holds a lagoon as smooth as glass. An atoll is a circle of protection, an embrace made of living limestone. Waves that roar beyond the reef arrive inside, as ripples small enough for a child to count. Rivers are thoughtful travelers. When plains need new soil, floods arrive with silt and then withdraw, leaving fields ready without a speech. When the channel grows too tight, the river loops and eases its push along big bends. Oxbow lakes remain behind like calm commas, small harbors where herons hunt, and dragonflies write quick blue signatures on still water. Forests practice climate with manners. In summer, leaves spread shade and mist the air with the breath of tiny pores. In winter, bare branches let sunlight in to warm the ground. Trunks store a little warmth by day and give it back by night, turning groves into mild rooms for deer and small birds. Underfoot, decades of leaf fall act like a cushion, taking the edge off footsteps and rain. On winter lakes, ice can sing. As it thickens or thins, temperature changes make the sheet expand and contract, and the strain releases deep, wobbling tones that travel far. The lake becomes a slow instrument, tuning itself as night cools and day brightens. Hearing it is like listening to a whale inside a bell. Caves are the planet's quiet archives. Water moves through stone at the pace of patience, dropping a grain of mineral with every drip. Curtains and pillars take shape, rooms polish themselves with time, and air sits at a nearly constant cool. Step inside, and the day's heat and hurry slide off your shoulders. You are in a place that has never once rushed. By evening at the shore, the sea breeze that arrived all afternoon reverses and drifts back to water, drawing a faint veil of cool over the land. Porches breathe, curtains lift, then settle. Harbor bells knock a single note now and then, and forget the next beat. A lighthouse keeps its patient sweep across the harbor mouth, the geometry of comfort done in light. Even our built places borrow these lessons when we let them. Canals flatten hills for boats and turn noisy rivers into slow streets. Gardens set stones where your foot expects them, offer shade where your eye wants it, and add a trickle of water that smooths city sound into a steady hush. A library window faces north for softened light that makes pages easy to read and thought easy to hold. Sometimes night itself glows. In warm seas, stirring the water can wake blue sparks of plankton. In caves, tiny insects dangle glowing threads like stars caught indoors. In deep woods, faint foxfire shimmers along fallen logs. None of it is bright enough to startle. All of it is enough to guide. The sky keeps a kindness even on the hottest days. Dust and salt in the air scatter light and soften the white edge of the Sunday. Distant clouds stand like sails you can see from town, promising shade on the way. After sunset, heat leaks upward, and a night breeze forms near the ground. A small relief that arrives on time, whether we notice it or not. Your own rhythms lean into these cues. A cool room and a warm blanket echo night air over a sheltered hollow. A glass of water on the nightstand echoes springs that offer what is needed with no fuss. A small fan writes brown noise that your thoughts cannot easily cling to. Breathe in, breathe out, and your heart takes the hint. Carry one last picture as you drift. On a quiet atoll, palm fronds clack softly, while the lagoon lays silver coins on the sand. Far out, surf booms and fades, trimmed to a distant murmur by the reef. A frigate bird hangs almost still in a slow updraft. In the shallows, small fish turn at once, then settle again like confetti deciding to be a school. Overhead, the moon draws a path across water that looks like a road you could walk without getting wet. Everything gentle is in place. The oceans are keeping time, tides are taking their turns, rivers are writing careful letters, leaves are holding the day's heat, just enough to give it back by midnight. Bells are counting slow seconds, lights are sweeping and returning. The planet has laid out the quiet and dimmed the room. Step onto that path of moonlight in your mind and let it carry you the last distance to sleep. Picture evenings settling across a valley as if someone was smoothing the cover on a bed. Shadows lengthen on the north slopes, ease across the river, and gather under cottonwoods where crickets begin their patient counting. The air loosens its grip, windows open, a kettle hums. You can almost hear the planet say, "There, that's better." Earth keeps many such comforts in reserve. After a storm, the sky often sets a gentle order. Clouds break into tidy rows, streets gleam, and far hills step forward as if cleaned. Even the smell changes. Rain leaves the air rinsed and simple. In that pause, traffic softens and birds test a few bright notes. Calm is not rare here. It is the baseline. On open grasslands, the wind learns manners it did not show on the ridge. Tall stems bend together and release, passing the push along like a message shared quietly down a line. Meadowlarks rest on fence posts and send round flute-like phrases that carry for miles. Then the field exhales. By rivers, evening gathers in silver. Mayflies rise and fall like breath made visible. Trout make soft circles and vanish. Willow leaves turn their paler undersides to the breeze and flicker like coins. Sit long enough, and your thoughts move at the river's pace, curving, unhurried, precise. Mountains speak a slower language at night. Granite holds the day's warmth and hands it back by degrees, so alpine air cools without shock. Stars multiply until the sky feels near, and a milk-white band reveals our home galaxy. Even if you cannot see it tonight, know it is there. A quiet river of light above every roof. Coastal mornings have their own rituals. The first gull draws a white line across grey dawn. The tide leans in with a tidy edge. A harbour wakes with ropes creaking and hulls ticking in their berths. The sea keeps promises it has made for centuries. I will arrive. I will withdraw. I will arrive again. Forests offer rooms arranged by light. In deep shade, moss builds thick carpets that muffle footsteps. Where sun finds a window in the canopy, butterflies drift like scraps of color that forgot to fall. Ferns unscroll in slow motion, each frond taking its place. Desert nights trade glare for clarity. Heat rises away and leaves outlines kind. A jackrabbit pauses between yuccas. Saguaro arms hold still like patient sentries. When the moon climbs, every spine throws a small, exact shadow, and the sand keeps the imprint of a lizard's path, like easy handwriting. Even cities know how to be gentle when the hour is right. A street sweeper makes a long, even whoosh. Sprinklers whisper across small lawns. A late train strings soft windows through the dark. A few squares of gold show where someone is reading or settling a child. The rest is quiet geometry breathing under the same sky as pines and dunes. The ocean, which could be wild, often chooses truce. Far from shore, long swells roll beneath a calm surface, as steady as the pulse in your wrist. A whale surfaces with a breath like a bellows, then slides under a skin of silver. At night, tiny drifters turn motion into light, and a bow wave becomes a blue comet that keeps pace with the boat and with your heartbeat. Look closer, and you will find caretakers everywhere. Barn owls hunt mice that would raid grain. Ladybugs tidy stems. Small mussels filter a stream into clarity one sip at a time. None of this asks for applause. It is ordinary goodness, the kind that makes the world feel trustworthy. Time acts kindly here. Near summer at higher latitudes, twilight lingers as if it hates to leave, giving you a long, forgiving slope toward night. In winter, morning arrives with deliberate grace, bringing back color a layer at a time. Your body likes these slopes, nothing sudden, nothing sharp. Stone keeps secrets that calm the mind. Stand on a basalt cliff, made of neat columns, and read the rock's quiet symmetry. Even ancient heat cooled into order. Walk a beach of rounded pebbles, and your feet learn without thinking that friction becomes smoothness, given time. The air shapes comfort with invisible habits. At dusk, scents rise, sage, dust, pine resin warmed all day, telling old parts of your brain that the hunt is over and the door can be bolted. Just before dawn, cool air slips down slopes and pools in hollows, laying dew on grass and quieting the last crickets. Small notes in a familiar song. If your mind starts listing tasks, hand each one to a steady rhythm outside you. Give one to the tide. It will go out and come in whether you watch or not. Give one to the wind in the trees. It will weave and release. Give one to starlight. It will cross the dark as it always has and arrive on schedule. Hold a final picture for tonight. A lake lies dark as a held breath. From the far shore comes a loon's low call. It travels across flat water and reaches you whole, a sound with no edges. The first stars prick through the blue until the sky feels like a deep bowl. Somewhere a porch light clicks off. Somewhere a small fish dings the surface and is gone. You have been placed, gently, in the middle of enough. Everything you need is underway. Heat is leaving roofs. Dew is threading spider silk. Rivers are keeping their curves. The sea is taking a slow step back before it takes a slow step forward. Earth is turning you toward morning with the same patience it has always used. Let it turn you. Let yourself be carried by a planet that loves smooth transitions, measured sounds, and the kind of light that knows how to dim. Imagine a calm signal sweeping around the world every day, a slow-moving line where night becomes morning and morning becomes day. Pilots call it the Terminator. You can think of it as the planet's gentle dimmer switch, easing brightness up and down so eyes and minds never have to jump. Over oceans at dawn, the sea looks like brushed metal. Across plains at dusk, shadows lengthen like deep, soft breaths. Mountains add their own soft punctuation to this rhythm. On certain days, smooth, lens-shaped clouds hover above high peaks, stacked like quiet plates. They are called lenticular clouds. They barely drift because wind flows over a mountain like water over a rock, standing in a wave that stays put. You can watch a cloud that seems to rest even while air moves through it, a reminder that motion can be calm. In winter, snow invents secret rooms. Just under the white surface lies a sheltered space where mice and shrews travel warm and hidden. This sub-Nevian world muffles sound, holds heat, and turns a cold field into a small, safe neighborhood. Lakes carry quiet music. On still mornings, they turn to mirrors so perfect that hills and trees appear to float. When a first breeze arrives, the reflection breaks into ripples that travel outward in patient rings. On some winter nights, as ice forms or loosens, deep tones echo for miles long, wobbling notes as if the lake were tuning itself. The sea has its own long, friendly habits. Far from land, floating mats of golden-brown seaweed gather, where currents are gentle. This place, the Sargasso Sea, is calm enough to be a nursery. Young turtles rest among the fronds. Small fish hide. Eels begin a life cycle that spans continents. The ocean, which can roar, also keeps rooms like this soft, sheltered, and steady. Reefs time their celebrations to the sky. On warm nights after certain full moons, corals release tiny beads all at once, a soft underwater snowfall that starts new colonies. Fish swirl in the glow of moonlight, then the reef returns to its hush. A whole coastline takes its cue from a lamp in the sky. Sometimes light writes rare, quiet shapes. A fogbow is a pale rainbow that appears in mist. A moonbow is a rainbow lit by the moon. Both are gentle, washed in white or silver, so soft you might miss them if you hurry. They do not shout. They simply prove that the rules of color still hold even at night. Along coasts, barrier islands and dunes behave like slow guardians. Storms push them, waves reshape them, and grasses bind them. Together they take the ocean's energy and spend it gradually, protecting wetlands and towns behind them. After the storm, the system repairs itself grain by grain. Forests engineer small comforts. On hillsides, there are thermal belts, bands of air, a little warmer than the cold hollows below. Farmers have long noticed that fruit trees do better there. The land quietly arranges warmth, so blossoms can rest easy through a cool night. Under the canopy, light is sifted and sound is gentled. A thrush can sing 2 notes and let silence finish the line. Rivers practice mercy on sharp corners. When the current meets a bend, it slows on the inside and drops sand, building a beach, just where a tired traveler would want to pause. In flood, water spreads over a plain and leaves behind silt that feeds future harvests. The river is not wasting energy, it is sharing. Even stone shows that calm is a destination. Where lava cooled very slowly, it broke into neat hexagon columns that fit like a tiled floor. Where waves met cliffs for ages, coves and arches formed the hard edges rounded into rooms that echo with friendly sound. Animals carry these lessons in their bodies. Sea otters sleep holding paws so they do not drift apart. Swifts nap on the wing, letting half the brain keep watch while the other half dreams. Reindeer travel as if following a poem written in valleys and snow lines. Even a tortoise placing one foot after another is an example of moving through the world without friction. At high latitudes, the year learns to breathe slowly. In summer, twilight lasts for hours, a long ramp into night. In winter, dawn returns with layered kindness, indigo to blue to pearl to pale gold, so waking feels like being wrapped in color. Your own inner clock likes these ramps. It prefers slopes to cliffs. Now bring the picture back indoors. A room can borrow all of this. A plant by the window leans and teaches you to face the light. A bowl of water throws quiet reflections on a wall. A soft lamp imitates the moon. A white noise machine hums like distant surf. Heavy curtains echo fog. A cool pillow is a small piece of snow. A warm mug, a small hearthstone. Hold one scene as you drift. A low hill with a lone pine leaning into the wind. A field of hay cut into tidy rows. A pair of cranes standing in shallow water, each on one leg. So still the day balances on them. The sun lowers, a fogbow glimmers, and far away a lighthouse turns its even wheel of light. Everything gentle continues. The line of dawn keeps circling. Hidden tunnels stay warm under snow. Lakes keep their quiet instruments tuned. Reefs follow the moon's calendar. Dunes and grass rebuild the edge grain by grain. If a thought grows loud, hand it to the wind that holds a cloud in one place and let it sift through. Your breath knows the pace now. Let it match the planet's steady, easy time. Imagine the planet tucking you in with 1,000 small courtesies you hardly notice. A high, thin veil of cloud turns noon into silk. A marine layer slips over the coast at night and drifts back to sea by late morning, a cool blanket folded and put away. Even far inland, heat lifts from rock after sunset and a busy street softens by degrees. In the far north, the boreal forest carries a hush that lasts for months. Hoarfrost etches needles with tiny feathers of ice, and first light makes them glow like lanterns. Snow dampens sound until the loudest thing is your breath. When spring loosens its grip, shallow ponds answer with rounded notes from small frogs. A season of patience ends in music. After rain on salt flats, sky and ground become one mirror. Distant hills float, and wind draws faint ripples across a film of water that stretches for miles. Calm can be enormous. Some clouds choose order over drama. Over cold seas in winter, rows of puffy cloudlets align into cloud streets, built by air rising in gentle lanes and sinking beside them. Sometimes a single roll cloud glides along a coast, like a white scroll the sky practicing neatness. Peatlands and bogs are Earth's sponges. Moss builds slow, layer upon layer, holding water the way a book holds words. In wet spells they receive, in dry spells they give back. Underfoot, the ground feels springy, as if it were remembering rain while making room for tomorrow. Ridges and valleys host polite winds. Cool air slides downhill at night and thermals climb by day. Vineyards lean into this rhythm, orchards rest easily in it, and morning fog settles where hollows ask. Along gentle coasts, seagrass meadows stitch the seafloor into place. Their blades slow the water so sand can land and stay. Tiny fish hide, seahorses anchor their tails and rock like leaves. Light practices kindness in subtle ways. On cold evenings, sun pillars rise above the horizon, narrow beams formed when flat ice crystals tilt and send light back to you. In summer at high latitudes, noctilucent clouds shimmer high in the dusk, silver threads catching the last rays. Quiet signatures in the sky's notebook. They ask only that you look up and then rest again. Rivers, which could rush, prefer to negotiate. On the outside of a bend they carve, On the inside, they slow and drop sandbars shaped like gentle commas. Estuaries mix salt and fresh into a soft gradient where reeds, fish, and birds all find the middle they like best. Even floods, once past their crest, leave loam as a promise that the next season will be generous. Forests arrange their rooms by temperature as well as light. On cold nights, a warm band sometimes forms midway up a slope, a thermal belt that keeps late blossoms safe. Under the canopy, trunks hold the day's heat and release it after dark, turning air mild enough for moths to stitch quiet roots from flower to flower. Deserts, which appear spare, excel at careful timing. Creosote bushes open their pores in the cool and close them in heat. A night-blooming cereus waits all year to open for a few hours when the air is right, a white flower making perfume in the dark for moths that keep the appointment. Dawn folds the petals without regret. The lesson is simple. Do the gentle thing at the gentle time. Stones tell steady stories in their shapes. Basalt cools into hexagon tiles that look laid by patient hands. River pebbles round themselves into palm-sized comforts. In slot canyons, water draws flowing curves on sandstone walls, then leaves a polished silence. Your footsteps come back softened, as if the rock were returning your sound. Under snow, small animals build warm passages. The subnivean world is a hidden hallway where mice and voles travel, safe from wind and wing. Above them, a fox tilts its head, listens, and dives, then shakes off powder like a dog stepping from a bath. Life continues in layers, each with its own hush. On still lakes, the first skim of ice writes a thin glass that rings when pebbles skip. As the sheet thickens or relaxes, the lake sings long, bending notes that slide through the valley, a reminder that materials have music when they change slowly. City nights can learn these songs. A fountain turns chatter into a steady hush. A line of lindens braids shadow and scent. A tram hums past at the same minute each hour, its low note rounding off the day. Windows dim in sequence as apartments hand the evening to the night. Your body is fluent in this language. Cool air across skin, warm weight across shoulders, dim light across eyes, each tells the nervous system that edges are gone. A warm bath, followed by a cooler room, lowers your core temperature a little, and sleep walks in like an old friend. Put a glass of water within reach, and your mind stops checking the door. Hold a last picture for this stretch of the journey. A quiet bay at low tide shows ridges of rippled sand. Egrets step with white care, leaving prints like careful handwriting. Farther out, a line of small waves curls and lays itself down in even rows. A buoy answers the swell with a single, patient note. Over the dunes, grasses trace the wind in brushed strokes, and the first star holds steady above the lighthouse. Everything gentle is still in motion. Mist is lifting, belts of warm air are forming, moss is storing tomorrow's drink, stones are cooling in orderly ways. The schedule keeps itself. You can let go and be carried by the planet's practiced kindness, the way a leaf rides the easiest part of the stream. Think of the planet finishing the day the way a careful host closes the door softly, turns down the lamps, and sets a glass of water by the bed. The same earth that made dew and fog, tides and breezes, now combs the hours smooth so sleep can find you. Start with night's kindness. Darkness lowers the workload on vision so other senses can rest. The sky removes glare and replaces it with points, a map so familiar sailors once crossed oceans by it. You do not need to navigate tonight. Knowing the map exists is enough. The air practices balance while you rest. Warm roofs release heat after sunset and the layer near the ground cools, making a fine, even breeze that slips under curtains and across fields. That breeze carries tiny clues, cedar, rain, riverstone, that tell old parts of your brain the day's hunt is done and the door is bolted. It is safe to surrender the keys. Water moves with its long memory. Somewhere a river is flattening after rain, laying dark gift lines of silt on a floodplain. Somewhere a bay is turning at slack tide, the brief quiet between out and in that feels like a sigh. Far offshore, swells keep marching with patient legs. Water teaches the world to breathe. Underfoot, the slow helpers continue their unshowy work. Worms thread the soil and make spaces for rain to rest. Fungi carry small messages and meals between roots in the dark. A beetle turns a fallen leaf into next year's shade. Even in winter, life pauses without stopping. Even in summer, it acts without rushing. Stone keeps the longest promises. Cliffs release the day's heat grain by grain. Canyons soften their corners. On high plateaus, cooling basalt holds quiet geometry that tells your eyes there is order underneath the noise. Forests draw curtains in every season. In spring, rain flicks from new leaves like beads from a fringe. In summer, shade falls in wide, soft coins. In autumn, the floor becomes a quilt that muffles sound. In winter, needles hold snow until branches lower their arms, then let it go in small avalanches that whisper. Coasts rehearse comfort day after day. Morning lays silver fans of wave on sand. Afternoon sea breeze trims the heat. At night, stars stand on the water in quivering lines. Salt marshes filter, dunes rebuild, reefs blunt the force. Cities learn the lesson when night is kind. Windows turn amber and then wink dark one by one. Sprinklers write a soft hiss over parks. A bus hum becomes a low ribbon of sound that ties the hours together. Somewhere, a bakery begins, early and unhurried, sending the first warm scent through cool air. Animals set their clocks to these cues. Moths find pale blooms by scent and sip quietly. Owls quarter fields with wings that barely stir the air. On coasts, sandpipers run the edge where foam melts and return, as regular as breathing. In deeper water, a grey whale rests upright, rising now and then to breathe, holding its calf close. The sky offers small signatures to close the chapter. A faint halo may circle the moon where ice crystals float. Farther up, a satellite crosses like a moving star, proof that even our inventions can join the calm when they glide rather than roar. Before dawn, the pale band in the east quietly signals the next page. Your body listens, cooler air on skin, dim light on eyes, steady sound in ears. These are the switches that flip you into the night shift, the way twilight flips the world. Muscles let go, breath slows. The mind, which spent the day editing, files what matters and recycles the rest. You do not need to supervise. Hold one broad panorama. From far above, clouds lie like folded linen over dark land. The aurora dims at the pole, tucking its green silk away. A river writes a long S of Mercury toward a sleeping bay. A lighthouse turns, then turns again, measured and calm. Now bring the view close. Your room is a small earth. A plant leans toward tomorrow's light. A glass of water carries the sea's patience. A fan hums like a distant shore. The blanket's weight is even as air. You are inside the same physics that keeps tides steady and stars punctual. Let it work for you. If a thought rises, let it join a tide pool and settle. If a memory knocks, hand it to the lighthouse. It will circle back later if needed. If a worry lifts its head, give it to the wind that holds a cloud still. The world is full of places where roughness goes to be rounded. Everything essential is on duty tonight. Gravity has the watch. The magnetic shield hums at its post. Currents keep their roots. Bees and otters and owls attend to quiet errands. The planet tips you toward morning at the same honest speed it used yesterday and will use tomorrow. You are carried, not asked to carry. Close your eyes and let Earth finish the turn. Somewhere, dawn is already brushing a reef and a field and a street with the same gentle hand. Somewhere, night is laying fog on a river and cool on a roof. Right here, breath is the tide, and the bed is a safe shore. Trust the practice of this place. It has kept time a very long while. It will keep it for you until you wake.